Well, here we are, ready for another video on a science fiction book. I'm actually excited for this one because this is one of my favorite science fiction books of all time. It's not my favorite, but anyway, yeah, I am very tired, as you may be able to see right now, and if this video comes out on Thursday instead of Wednesday, that's my fault. Sorry, even though I had a long weekend, it's been a very heavy long weekend with homework, so yeah, sorry about that. If it does come out on Wednesday, then ignore this message. There's nothing important about it. Hello, fellow nerds of the internet. Welcome to this new episode of Analyzing Fiction. I am your host, R.H. Naranjo, and today we'll be talking about The Martian by Andy Weir, one of my favorite science fiction books of all time. And if you have seen the movie or read the book, then you probably understand why, because it is truly a very interesting book, a very fascinating book that has captivated dozens of people throughout the many years it's been out. I think it came out somewhere in 2015, I think, or 2011. I'm not sure, but it came out not too long ago, and in those years it has astonished great amount of people. So anyway, with that, without any further ado, these two guys here, Waiting Doors Wire House Vault, are available on Amazon both in digital and physical format. The links will be, of course, down below. And of course, we cannot forget the book Candles, book 2.5 in the series. I am super excited for this book to come out. I am thrilled to have you read it, have it in your hands, or in your Kindle if you're one of those people. But anyway, I am very excited for the video. It comes out on December the 1st, and yeah, I just can't wait for it to come out. But anyway, with that said, let's go directly into the P.A.O, the possible smell addiction, which for The Martian is going to be it's a good book. It actually smells. This one smells nice. I'm gonna give it that. I'll give it a 9, an 8, an 8.5. I have no idea what I gave it in the Spanish video, so there may be a difference there. But anyway, I think it's a very nice book. But anyway, new book means new author, and let's go with Andy Weir. Andy Weir was born in 1972, if I recall correctly, in a small town in the United States, and he lived there pretty much all his life because he is afraid of heights. He doesn't like to travel via plane, so it was very hard for him to leave his small hometown. However, he went to university, eventually dropped out, and from a very young age, he delved into the world of science fiction by reading Frank Herbert, Arthur C. Clarke, or Isaac Asimov. He was thrilled by those stories and decided to write something of his own. After dropping out from college, he began working on diverse companies, even coming to work on the programming for a video game, which I cannot remember right now, and I couldn't remember either on the Spanish video, but he worked on the programming for a video game, and later on he began working on a blog, and there on that blog he began uploading different short stories, different ideas that he came up with. He even worked on a novel, and the most famous of these short stories is by far the one called The Egg. And The Egg talks about this man who dies in a car crash, I believe, and comes into contact and into a very interesting conversation with God. And it's actually a very interesting story. For its 10th anniversary, the YouTube channel, Kurzgesagt, made a very cool adaptation of the video, and it's actually very interesting. I highly recommend it. But anyway, he wrote The Egg and eventually began working on this novel that he wanted to publish. Unfortunately, nobody published it for him, and it wasn't until The Martian that he actually managed to come out as a success, and the book was such a success that it was even adapted into a movie, and he became one of the best known authors for science fiction. After this, The Martian is a book that takes on a very realistic approach to science fiction. His later two books, which are Artemis, I believe, and Project Hail Mary, they delve deeper into more fantastic science fiction, more of the unexplained science fiction with aliens or spaceships or faster than light travel, etc., etc. So we have in Artemis, it's about a girl who is tired of her little hometown, which is also the only town in the moon, and the other one is about an astronaut who wakes up in the middle of nowhere and in a strange spaceship that he doesn't know where it belongs, so he has amnesia, I believe. But anyway, those are his three main books, and they have led him to a very vast, very considerable writing success, especially The Martian. But with that said and done, let's go ahead and work in the plot for this book, talk about the plot of this book. So let's go with that. The plot of The Martian, if you don't already know it, is about this guy right here, Mark Watney, who unfortunately is on the third or fourth mission to Mars. So this is humanity's one of the first missions to Mars in the history of humanity, and he has the misfortune to find himself 6 days into the mission surrounded by a huge storm. So the mission is going to last various months, but because of this huge storm, the team's captain orders them to retreat. She orders them to leave the habitat and go to the ship. Unfortunately, on the way there, an antenna breaks and it literally smashes against Mark Watney, wounding him and sending him off into the distance. His suit is broken, which puts off an alarm for the others, and they think him dead. So they leave because they have no other choice, since the storm is so hard it is tilting the ship. It is tilting the ship. So they leave the Mars literally and begin their way home. However, soon afterwards, once the storm is already done, it's finished, Mark Watney awakes on the soil of Mars, all on his own, the first person in history to be completely alone in a planet. And Mark has to use all his skills as an astronaut and as a botanist and as an optimistic to find his way back home. So that is essentially the plot for The Martian, a person who's stranded on a planet and needs to find a way to get back home. It is a fantastic book, a fantastic plot, a fantastic story, and I really think it is worth a look. But anyway, with that said and done, let's go into my review. Starting us off with the plot, I really think this is a magnificent story plot-wise. Why? Because it focuses on Mark Watney in a very interesting way. This story shows us literally all the progress that needs to take place in order for Mark Watney to return to Earth safely, because it is not only a one-man operation. All the way on Earth, NASA is doing everything it can to restore the connection with Mark Watney and to bring him back home once they learn that he is alive. And it is extremely interesting the way in which the book portrays that. The way in which Mark Watney solves the different problems that take place, the different problems that appear, it's a truly magnificent way that only a botanist would be able to solve all these problems, because it's Mars. It's an alien planet. He has limited food, limited water, limited oxygen, and needs to find a way to get all of those running for him to stay, I believe, 500 days on Mars. So it's not just a one-day thing, not just 1 week or a month. He stays there almost 600 days, so a year and a half, a lot more than a year and a half. And he needs to find enough food to get resources for all that time. So he only has potatoes as his only growable crop. He has to find a way to produce water out of a dry atmosphere, and a way to convert that same dry, inhospitable atmosphere into breathable, clean oxygen. So it is a very interesting book that finds somehow a way to show how science can solve pretty much every problem in existence. So science can do everything except give life, and it is very, very interesting how Andy Weir shows it through the plot, because believe me, Mark Watney does not have it easy on Mars. It is not just surviving and being bored for 500 days. No, he has to do so many things in order to survive. Daily, he finds himself shocked by solitude and by loneliness, by boredom. There are so many things that take place in this book, and that's digging more into characters, but really it is a magnificent plot. Now into characters, Mark Watney is amazing in this book. Not only is he always happy and charismatic and telling jokes, but you can also see a very clear transformation that he suffers throughout the plot. It is very interesting how much he changes throughout all of these events that take place before him, how all the situation molds him to become a better person. And without his jokes, without his easy way of seeing the world, without all the bad humor that he has, it would be very difficult for him to return home, because one of the things that keeps him going is that sense of humor that he has. And it is not only an interesting approach to loneliness, but also a study on how someone with a purpose, someone with the will to live, is going to live. So this is going into more Frankl-like themes of how people who survive are people who have a reason to survive, while those who have lost their purpose, they just can't move on. They can't continue walking. They can't go forward because there is no hope for them. It is a truly interesting book, truly interesting story with amazing characters, and the narrative only prompts that amazingness, because the narrative is not just the normal third-person narrative you would see in most books, but it's actually most of it on the log entries. So most of the book is actually log entries that Mark is doing throughout his experience in Mars. So he is not only talking with the characters, we're not only being shown the characters do different things, we're also seeing what Mark is summarizing his days. So that is a very interesting approach, because it has problems. I mean, the problem of doing something like that is that because you know that Mark is speaking, the very fact that he is doing the log entry means that he survived, means that in that day things might have gone wrong, but he is still alive. So the very existence of the log entries show us that he is all right, or at least he can access the logs, so he is not dead at least. So that may be a little problem, but on top of that, we also are interested to see how he got to that point. So he starts the log entry already knowing what happened in the day, so the first sentence of the log entry might be like, "Oh crap," or "I'm in a problem, I'm in trouble," or just a scream of anger, and the reader is wondering, well, what happened? And then Mark starts to explain, and as he explains, everything comes clear to the reader's mind, and it's a very interesting way in which Andy Weir delivers the story, by log entries. There's also, of course, chapters that cannot be in log entries because they focus on the NASA stuff. There's also the Hermes crew. These people, they're not doing log entries, so these chapters are in third person, past tense, or present tense, I don't remember, but in normal narrative. But those chapters with Mark in the log entries, those are extremely interesting. Now, as for the planning that took place for this book, it is clear that Andy Weir made his investigation, because there is so much scientific things that come into play in this story, and it is so well documented that even film theory respected this movie for being truth, for being true to science. And essentially, if someone ever gets stranded on Mars, that person has to read The Martian, because it will give them so much information regarding how to survive on Mars on their own. So it's a very cool book, it's a very useful book, and it's scientifically accurate in most things at least. So yeah, it's a reliable source for information, and it's a science fiction novel. But anyway, my grade for The Martian is going to be, I believe I give it a 94 out of 100, I believe. If not, it will get I just moved the phone. I'm so sorry. My grade for The Martian is going to be a 94 out of 100. I really like this book. It is very cool and I highly recommend it to you. Or the movie. The movie is also cool. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, subscribe, enjoy, get the book if you want to, and check out my books as well. I am very excited for Candles. It is coming out soon, and I will see you later. Bye bye.